Deputy Speaker, and before I go on, I'd like to associate myself with the sentiment of the member for Stockport in terms of social media companies doing more. They simply don't do enough, and they have the resources to do so. I'd also like to pay tribute to my honourable friend from Beckenham for that really moving speech. Every time I hear him speak about his experiences, there's never a dry eye. And I want to congratulate the member for Stretford and Urmston for his maiden speech. He was doing so well up until about the 5th minute, and as a Manchester United fan, I'm assured of one thing: I'm sure we'll have many sparring sessions inside the chamber and outside, but I wish him well. I thank my right honourable friend for the member for Bromsgrove and for the member for Barking and all the other members who've contributed to making sure we have this really important debate. And I pay tribute to the Holocaust Educational Trust for all the work that they do, and also to the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust and the Community Security Trust. I also visited a school in North London. I got to see firsthand the really sad situation that our children, and they are our children as well, who are struggling to be educated without fear, and it really does move me. And I wish we didn't have to live in a society where that was the case, and I'm sure we'll all work together to try and make that so. And I thank Solihull Council, who had their civic reception this morning as part of their Holocaust Remembrance event. And I urge all members to spend some time going through the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust website and read the stories of all those that survived, and also the stories of those that perished in the Holocaust. The mothers, the fathers, the sons, the daughters, the brothers and sisters. Never again, Madam Deputy Speaker, never again. So many times we've heard this phrase. And not just when we've spoken of the Holocaust, but of, sadly, of subsequent genocides that my right honourable friend highlighted, like Rwanda, Cambodia and Srebrenica, and I'm a patron of remembering Srebrenica. And in the week that the doomsday clock moved 10 seconds closer to midnight, where incidents of mass murders or atrocities are still unveiled with too much regularity, whether it be in Ukraine, in Xinjiang in China, or the stories of harrowing abuse suffered by the Rohingya communities, this debate seems particularly poignant. And I should say that list was not exhaustive and it was not complete, sadly. One thing is really clear: we cannot be complacent, and we cannot assume that it will never happen again, and we cannot forget. The theme today, of course, is ordinary people. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to speak today about the extraordinary Paul Oppenheimer, who, after the World War, settled in my constituency in the village of Marston Green. He was born in Berlin in 1928, and he lived in my constituency after the war for over 40 years. In 1940, his family moved to Amsterdam, and within 6 months of the German invasion, the persecution of the Jewish communities in Holland had started. He was only able to complete one term in the local grammar school before the Nazis banned Jewish children from attending non-Jewish schools. In January 1942, it was decreed that Jews could only reside in Amsterdam, and from April 1942, it was decreed that Jews must wear a Jewish star. The Nazis then went block by block, clearing Jewish families, taking them by train to the transit camp they had, Westerbork, before being sent on to other camps like Auschwitz, Sobibor and Bergen-Belsen. The Oppenheimers were exempt from wearing the yellow star by virtue of a small piece of fortune, because in 1936, Paul Oppenheimer, with his parents, visiting England, with his where his sister was born, Eve, where she was born, and therefore she had entitlement to recognition as a British subject. And it was due to Paul's father's foresight of registering Eve as a British citizen that the whole family was treated differently with blue exemption cards, and they were kept in the slightly better star camps, where they didn't have to shave their heads, where they could wear civilian clothes, and they'd often be protected from the random beatings and shootings by virtue of that citizenship. But they, of course, weren't safe from the unsanitary conditions, and disease was rife. Paul lost his mother and his father to disease in 1945, but he and his brother and sister eventually survived and found their way to England. Later in life, Paul checked to see what happened to those that were sent on those transit trains to the respective camps from Westerbork. Of the 34,143 people that left Westerbork for Sobibor camp, only 19 survived. Of the 58,380 who left for Auschwitz, 854 survived. And the thing about this story, and along with the theme today, you would never have known it about Paul. Because he came to Marston Green in my constituency, and he started as an engineering apprentice. And he ended up working in an automotive company, working on braking systems for passenger cars. In fact, he was so good that his work on anti-locking brakes, an absolute normality when you buy cars today, earned him an MBE in 1990. And it was only when he got awarded that award and the journalists started asking him about his life, it became clear about the horrors he'd seen and the story and the journey he'd lived. Paul was the ordinary neighbour. He was the ordinary co-worker, the one who ploughed his efforts and his life into rebuilding his life here in Britain. Paul settled in my constituency of Meriden. He brought up his children just streets away from where I myself live. And that's when it just hits you how extraordinarily evil the Holocaust was, how it touched the lives of so many ordinary people. And as I conclude, I just wonder about all the Pauls that didn't survive, all the Oppenheimers that didn't make it to a place of safety, all the engineers that didn't make it, all the doctors, the intellectuals, the artists, all the great contributions that could have been made. And it makes me think that they weren't just a loss to their families, they were a loss to humanity, at the subject of a warped and evil ideology. So whether it's in Xinjiang or the Rohingya community or in Ukraine, one thing is clear, that we must all come together, that we must all work with our international partners as a coalition of free democratic countries and make sure that never again isn't just something we say, it's something we live by.